radio for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
I need your help to get to the year 1985.
You're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Good evening. Fade to Black. Bespoke radio for the masses. Yeah, man. How you doing? How you doing? Today's Wednesday, January 20th, 2021. Let's do this, man. 20 days into the new year. Only 345 days left. We are live from a bunker somewhere in the middle of beautiful downtown Burbank, California, where the lights are on. I would like to welcome everybody listening all around the world, all across the United States. Hither and thither, to and fro, back and forth, up and down, east and west, north and south, far and near. This is Fade to Black for KJCR, the Game Changer Network, and KGRA, the planet. I am your host, Jimmy Church. What is cracking? How you doing? How you doing? Right. Yeah. The power's on. More on that in just a bit. Tonight, very special guest, Adam Apollo joins us. Now, we're going to be talking about the new year, consciousness, and you. Talk some ET too as well. You know, Adam's here. We'll squeeze some of that in. And tonight we are announcing the Conscious Life Expo 2021. Now, in advance for the show tonight, you could head over to jimmychurchradio.com. We've got new banners up right there above the player for the show, and everybody knows where that is over on the website. And there's some really cool animation going on, and you can head over to jimmychurchradio.com, click, and go over to the Conscious Life Expo website and check it out. Everything is there. It's an easy website to navigate. It's very cool. At the top, you have the speaker list. You have Expo at a glance. You have the 2021 schedule. You have a tickets thing and a virtual exhibit hall, which is very, very cool. We'll be talking about all of that tonight. I will be hosting all weekend long. It's going down a month from today, February 19th through the 21st, and it's going to be great. I'm your host. We've got a lot of really cool things. Now, I've got a co-host too over on Channel 2, and everything that you need. I want you to go over and poke around the website and check it out, and we will discuss everything. But man, what a lineup. We've got Bashar, Adam Apollo, who is our guest tonight, is going to be there. Billy Carson, Richard Dolan, Linda Moulton Howe, James Redfield, Deborah King, Kimberly Meredith, Whitley Strieber, Zadok Ra Osiris, and many, many, many more. And there is a virtual, one of the cool things, and I'll get into all of this tonight, but one of the cool things about the Conscious Life Expo is the exhibitor area there over at the airport. It's ginormous. So they have got a virtual exhibitor area. Okay. All right. It's very, 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 very cool. and very forward-thinking. So we'll be talking about all of that tonight. But head over to consciouslifeexpo.com so you can get a little preview of everything we will be talking about tonight on the show. Tomorrow night is another Fader night with open lines all night long. That is tomorrow, and I cannot wait for tomorrow night. And I'm just very excited about the show tonight. Adam Apollo is here. He's one of my favorite guests on the show. And this is really the truth. All of the guests are my favorite guests, right? There is only, over the last 7-8 years, there's only a couple of guests where things went south. Right, and you just learn your lesson, and all of that was a long time ago. You know, everything else has been pretty smooth sailing since then, and certainly over the last couple of years, it's been really smooth sailing. And there you go. But tonight, Adam Apollo was here. I remember before I get to the breaking news, I remember it was a couple years ago, when I first met Adam, and Rita and I. Didn't know much about Adam at the time, but we heard him speak. We met him and stuff. But he came on the panel and just lit it up. And I thought, this is somebody that I need to have a conversation with. And since then, he's been on the show many times, and we've done a lot of things together. But wow, what a great mind and a great friend of the show and all of you Fadernauts. So I just look forward to when he's on the show. And I know it's the same thing for him too. I just spoke to him. So, okay. So Adam Apollo is on tonight. You can follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Okay. You can follow me right there at JChurchRadio. Look at the sandbox. It's on fire. Hashtag F2B is the sandbox. Hashtag F2BQ is Fade to Black questions right there on Twitter. Hello to everybody over there. There's Jamo, and there's M in the chat room that I see right now over on Spreaker. Hello to everybody on Spreaker, YouTube, Facebook is now live. That's all good. Had a little hiccup with Facebook. Sometimes you just got to, you got to take control of the situation, and we did. So we're back up on Facebook, and I know I think we're on Vimeo. Where else are we? Of course, the bunker cam. Twitter no longer, the Periscope thing doesn't work, so we don't do Twitter anymore. Where else are we live? At UB, United Broadcasting. So there you go. Hello to everybody. It's going to be a great show tonight, and so just buckle up and get ready. Crazy day today. Yeah, in a good positive light. It was a pretty cool day for the country. And we'll get to all of that. And what I mean by that, okay, well, it's like this. Today's January 20th. Joe Biden was sworn in as POTUS earlier today, and there were no issues. Nothing happened. There were no protests anywhere in the country. There was no martial law instituted today. That didn't happen. The National Guard didn't rise up. Nah, it didn't happen. There were no mass arrests today. That's right. None of the crazy-ass conspiracy theories played out today. In fact, none of them played out over the last year. Not one. Nada. Nothing. So that was today. But during today's inauguration, an asteroid came significantly closer to Earth than the moon during the inauguration. And this, it wasn't any just normal asteroid. This drive-by measured 305 feet wide, 93 meters. That's right. In a weird inauguration day quirk of fate, the Statue of Liberty in New York is also 93 meters tall. How crazy is that? Wow. Did you guys catch the young girl today, the poet, the young lady, the poet in the yellow jacket at the end of the inauguration? Holy crap. Wow. Very, very cool. All right. So other breaking news today, and this is bizarre. There is an Easter egg buried in the new White House website. When you dig into the HTML code, you'll find a message from the White House's internal tech team, the U.S. Digital Service. And in the HTML code, it says, quote, "If you're reading this, we need your help building back better." That's right. The U.S. Digital Service. That agency said that in the HTML code. And there was a link in the HTML code to the U.S. Digital Service website. That's right. They're hiring. The timing of the message is no accident. The agency is slated to get $200 million in funding for hiring additional support personnel. More resources for the country's cybersecurity agencies is one of the things that the administration plans to do in response to the SolarWinds hack that left both public and private organizations victims to the Russian state-sponsored hackers. Crazy, right? And they found it. They found it. Those code writing nerds out there, you know, the new website launched. They get into the HTML code, and they found it. All right. Other breaking news. Contact in the Desert, CITD, announced today that they will be a virtual conference this year. The live event at the Renaissance in Palm Springs has been canceled. So you need to go to the website. There are things you can do if you have bought tickets and prepaid tickets and stuff. So all of that is there. And also if you paid for reservations with the Renaissance, all of that will be taken care of. The new dates for the virtual CITD will be July 23rd through the 26th, 2021. Everybody's going virtual this year. Don't know. You know, you just don't know with COVID and the pandemic where it's going to be. Public gatherings and hotels, just like the Conscious Life Expo, which is going to be next month, which is virtual. The Hilton pulled on that conference. That's it. That's it. That's it. They wanted us there until, right? And that's it. This is where it is. So we just don't know as the year pans out here what is actually going to be going on. So hopefully things will be, Amanda Gorman. She was amazing. I mean, this is the thing about Amanda today. I'm watching it live, and I'm listening to her speak, and I thought to myself, I'm a slouch act. I don't know how to speak. I don't know how to orate. I don't know how to pronounce words. I mean, oh, man, just mesmerizing, just absolutely unbelievably great. Just unbelievable. Out of the entire inauguration. It was funny. We brought in the 46th president today, right? Nobody remembers that. It's all about Amanda Gorman, and she was just amazing. Good for her. Good for her. Okay, so that's the update on Contact in the Desert. As I get more information over the days and weeks ahead, I will be bringing all of that to you. Go to contactinthedesert.com. Everything is there for you in the meantime. All right, let's get the show cracking. Happy birthday to today, the Rocker, Rainn Wilson. Today, 55. He was great in 6 Feet Under, but the Rocker, right? Skeet Ulrich today is 51. Buzz Aldrin today, 91 years old. Paul Stanley from Kiss today, 69 years old. Also today, 69, Judas Priest bassist Ian Hill is 69 years old, and guitarist Tracy Guns. That's right. He was the Guns in Guns N' Roses. That's right. Guitarist Tracy Guns today is 54 years old. Our dead guy's birthday today is the one and only Jimmy Cobb. 1929 to 2020, died at the age of 91. Jimmy was one of the greatest jazz drummers in history. The list of albums and artists that he has played with over the year, I mean, it's in the hundreds. Too long to go through. Okay, so there's that. But playing in the Miles Davis First Great Sextet, that was it for me. And he was the last surviving member of the group by 30 years. Jimmy played on some of the most respected jazz albums in history, but for me, it was Kind of Blue, Miles Davis. That's right. One of the greatest albums of all time. One of my favorite albums of all time, Miles Davis, Sketches of Spain. And he also played on Miles Davis at Carnegie Hall. Incredible drummer. Jimmy died on May 24, 2020 at his home in Manhattan. He was 91 and had been suffering from lung cancer. 91 years old. Happy birthday, Jimmy. On this day in history, OTD 1981. Minutes after Ronald Reagan's inauguration as the 40th president of the United States, the 52 U.S. captives held at the U.S. Embassy in Tehran, Iran, are released, ending the 444-day crisis. Fader fact. All right, now, listen to me. All right? Listen to this Fader fact. In 1983, Captain Ruben Ocana, a Mexican pilot flying a Gulfstream II private jet, crash landed in a field in a small town in Ireland. I'm not making this up. And he and his crew were stranded for 39 days while the whole town came together and built a temporary runway for him to take off again and continue his flight. That's your Fader fact. It's an incredible story. Go and look it up. 1983, Ruben Ocana, Gulfstream II jet. Incredible story. And that is your Fader fact. Tonight, Adam Apollo joins us. We're going to be discussing the new year ahead, consciousness, and we're also going to announce the Conscious Life Expo 2021. Tomorrow night's another Fader night with open lines all night long. And right now, I need to hit this River Moon Coffee. RiverMoonCoffee.com, RiverMoonWellness.com, Amazon.com, River Moon Coffee, the best. Fade to Black blend. All right, get yourself some. Get yourself some. Okay, now, and it's hot coffee. Yesterday, I didn't know what hot coffee was. Man, you take hot coffee out of your life. Oh, man, because, well, as everybody knows by now, we were without power here in the valley for almost exactly 24 hours, 25 hours to be exact, but it was a net of about 24 hours because the power came on a couple of times for 5, 10, 20 minutes each, like 3 times. Okay, but 24 hours from 7 a.m. yesterday until 8 a.m. this morning. It was very strange to live without electricity for a full day. Let me tell you. First off, when the power went out yesterday, we were caught off guard. Okay? All right? Cell phones not charged. Running around, what did we do? What about food? Oh, we can't cook. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on a minute. Oh, whoa. No power. Well, maybe we can't. No power. Well, how are we? I don't know. Phones weren't charged. Didn't make coffee. Right? Yesterday morning before the power went out, Rita happened to toast a bagel. Actually, the power went out, came back out. And while it came on, she toasted a bagel. I didn't get a bagel, but she got a bagel. Okay, so she had a hot breakfast. But yeah, seriously, that was just the beginning. But the silence that no power creates, because it's everything. You're outside and you're just like, man, it's quiet, right? I mean, it's just, there's nothing. I just wasn't ready for it. So now we've got a problem, right? How do we charge our phones? Well, yesterday morning, just posting that we had no power and checking our local news to see what was actually going on, right? And go to ladwp.com, find out that the power is out, and even calling into there is a 4-hour wait, right, on the phone. So that's out, that's it. We've got no, that's it. We need to make our last minute decisions here. And just posting that and checking the local news for about 30 minutes, put our phones in the dreaded low battery status, right? And that's it. And when that happens, you're a mere few minutes of being cut off from the world. So, well, how do you charge your phone? With no power, right? All of our portable USB supplies, of which we have 3 or 4, those are drained, and those are in the garage, packed in a box somewhere from a trade show, and I got no power in the garage. I can't open up the garage door. I got no light in the garage. I'm screwed, right? I'm screwed. Got to dig up flashlights. All the stuff is now in play, right? All of that was a no-go, and that's when I thought, hey, wait a minute. We can charge our phones in the car. Bingo! Right? So I jumped in the car, and I headed out to do some shopping. Basically killing time as I drove around and charged my phone. But I felt so smart, right? Get home, mission accomplished. I got my phone up to 60%, 70%. I'm feeling pretty good about that. But now, by the time I get home, which was like an hour later of charging up my phone, Rita's phone is about to crap out. And we had 2 iPads that wouldn't last the night. We're tripping. We're like, man, so what do? Well, you tell your wife that we're going out for root beer floats and French fries. That's what you do. I'm a hero. Right? So we grab some extra charging cables. We jump in the car. And driving around, we're 2 happy phone charging fools driving across the valley for root beer floats. 30 minutes later, we pull into the nation's best ice cream stand. And I'm not making this up. It's the Frosty Queen. And it's been in business since like the 50s, right? Always crowded, always busy, always great. We pull up. They closed down. That's right. Closed. Like not opened yet. Closed down. How can this be? Right? Oh man, I couldn't believe it. I mean, we were bummed. I mean, it's not only the ice cream there, but it's the burgers. And they got the best peanut butter shake you've ever had in your life. Not anymore. Closed. But there's always Foster's Freeze in the Valley. So we headed out. The good news, we had extra charge time for the phones. So we got our floats, got our French fries, headed home. At 6:30 p.m., the power came back on. Don't get excited, folks. It lasted for about 20 minutes. Back off, and there we were, now officially in the dark. I got batteries in the flashlights, all good. I rustled up some candles, and we hunkered down in our bedroom. Broke out an iPad, connected it to a Bluetooth speaker that was charged, by the way. Cinema sound at the ready. And we watched The Social Dilemma by candlelight. Some things you just can't make up. Candles burning, root beer floats, and French fries. And The Social Dilemma. Watching this watching something this good in this type of setting made everything feel so important. I don't know how to explain it, but it's just that it really sank in this time around. And Rita turns to me and says, as we get to the end of it, says, "Why aren't we talking about this film?" And I said, "Hey." She's like, "Why aren't we promoting it?" She was so angry, in a good way. But the film just has a way of clearing your head and making you angry. And I said, "Hey, Rita, I've been talking about it every night on the show for months." She said, "You haven't been talking about it enough." And she's right. Looking back now, because when I first watched Social Dilemma, that was 6 months ago when it was released, maybe a little longer, right? We didn't go through the election and the election fraud and all of the crazy conspiracy theories and all of the all the stupid stuff. That hadn't happened yet. You watch the Social Dilemma today, and it's a different movie. I was angry back then. You watch it now, it's special. Watch the Social Dilemma. I'm going to just continue to promote this per Rita's instructions, by the way. I'm just going to do this. If I see anybody posting in social media some crazy whack stuff, that's my reply is the Social Dilemma. Watch this. That's it. I'm just going to bust it out everywhere. This is Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church, and that's what you do when the power goes out. You charge your phones in your cars. Don't freak out. Go out and get root beer floats, French fries, drive around, right? Charge your stuff. That's it. Take your iPads with you too, because that's your TV. That's your TV. You don't want this to be your TV at night. That's too small. No. You need to have an iPad. You got to have that action going. But you can do all of that in your car. It's Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Adam Apollo is here. And we are announcing the Conscious Life Expo 2021 tonight on the show. I want you to head over to jimmychurchradio.com, click on the banners over there. Easy. Takes you straight there. Or you can go to consciouslifeexpo.com. Everything is there. We're going to be talking about that tonight. And, of course, consciousness, being positive, what you can do in 2021. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. You can follow Adam right there at Adam Apollo. Right there. We've got that up too as well. We'll be right back after this short break. Stay with us.
This is Nicole Church, daughter of you-know-who, and you're listening to Fade to Black on jimmychurchradio.com and the Game Changer Network.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio. Introducing the Game Changer blend from River Moon Coffee that delivers a customized blend made specifically for the Fadernauts. If the game is rigged, change the game. It's a bolder cup with some bite. Game Changer is the coffee of choice for those that prefer an organic dark roast that is slightly lighter and milder, but it's still dark. With wild notes of pecans and chocolate with a rich, balanced, full-bodied cup that is roasted to perfection for a great coffee to start your day, as an after-dinner coffee or anywhere in between. Artisan, small batch roasted to perfection. USDA certified organic, all River Moon coffee is freshly roasted and packaged in the USA. Just go to rivermooncoffee.com or click on the banners over on our site and use the promo code F2B Blend for 15% off of your order today. rivermooncoffee.com. Go Beckley Teppy.
This is the only way forward.
This is Fade to Black. Make contact. KGRAradio.com.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and you can get our podcast for just $2 per month. All you have to do is click on the podcast banner over at jimmychurchradio.com.
Hi, folks. It's troubling times, and fear is pushing emotions, which in turn pushes health the wrong direction. Do you ever get an ache because life is uneasy? Try Life Change Tea at getthetea.com. Life Change Tea works on your digestive tract, helping to move food through quicker and comfortably so your health is spot on. Life Change Tea may not help with world issues, but it will help with your digestive issues. A glass a day helps keep the intruders away. So, change your life today. Log on to getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. If your health game is off, get on by ordering Life Change Tea. Getthetea.com. And while you're on our site, look around at the great non-GMO organic supplements. And if you're a sales shopper, go to our specials page and see what's for you. I've been drinking the tea for 12 years, and I'm sure glad for its health benefits. Again, that's getthetea.com. Getthetea.com. The tea that makes you go.
Fadernauts. When you think about the future of our country and where we're headed, do you wonder about the food supply? I do. Disruptions in the food supply chain could be disastrous, and they usually occur with little warning. That's why the smartest thing you can do today is to stockpile emergency food, water, and other essentials. I personally recommend My Patriot Supply. They're the nation's largest emergency preparedness company, serving millions of customers for more than a decade. In fact, they're the only source my family trusts for our preparedness plan. You should too. Right now, save 20% off a full 4-week supply of delicious meals that provide 2,000 calories a day. Saving 20% helps too, doesn't it? Especially now. So go to preparewithjimmy.com and get ready. That's preparewithjimmy.com. There's no time to lose. Do it now.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the planet.
Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Kyle Massey, and you're listening to Jimmy Church Radio.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Adam Apollo. That's right, Adam is here. Now, we're going to be talking about the year ahead. Very excited about the conversation that we're about to have tonight with Adam. And we're also announcing the Conscious Life Expo 2021, a virtual conference this year. You can go to ConsciousLifeExpo.com. If you go over to JimmyChurchRadio.com and check out the 3 animation ads that we've got up there right above the player for the Conscious Life Expo. They look spectacular. So you can go and check all of that out. But tonight it's all about Adam, and we're going to be talking about contact disclosure, the new year ahead of us. And we're also, of course, talking about the Conscious Life Expo 2021. Now, Adam has been a physicist, systems architect, designer, and developer for nearly 20 years, founding several education and technology-oriented companies and organizations, as well as producing hundreds of websites and works across data sovereignty, decentralization, and cryptocurrency. As a child, Adam had several encounters with extraterrestrial starships, and we've discussed this a lot in the past, but it's always fascinating for me to do the deep dive with Adam with all of this. But, of course, he has had countless contact experiences, organized CSETI and ECETI events, and called and connected with hundreds of Starship crews and developed a comprehensive knowledge of many species who have interacted with humanity over many millennia. 3 websites for Adam. They are all over at JimmyChurchRadio.com. AdamApollo.com, GuardianIS.is, and of course, Renaissance.org and everything, RenaissanceScience.org. Everything is over at JimmyChurchRadio.com. I'm out of breath. I'd like to welcome back to Fade to Black, Adam Apollo. Adam, how you doing, man?
Doing great, Jimmy. How are you this evening, my friend?
Looking at you, it's you know what? It's just going to be a great night. That's it.
Oh yeah, we're gonna have a good time.
We
always have a good time.
We do. And I was saying at the beginning of the show tonight, I remember when we first met, and I knew of you, but I didn't know you, right? And so we had a chance to hang out, and you did a panel with me, and we did some stuff. I went, man, this is our guy right here. And the last few years have just been a fun ride. All of the conversations have been great. And then, of course, next month you're doing the Conscious Life Expo with us, and that's going to be great too as well. We'll talk about all of that a little bit later. Let's go ahead. You're the guest, man. It's your show. I'm just here. Oh, I think you muted yourself. Yeah, you're muted. What did you do? Okay, you just went on mute. I'm watching you talk. Yeah. Okay, you clicked on something. I'm watching Adam. He's scurrying. All right. So I'll talk while you're figuring this out. How's that? But you look good. See, that's the thing. It's better to look good than to feel good. And right now, I'm watching Adam click. This is I think you're back.
Yeah, well, it's not exactly the audio device I'd like to be using. I'm going to try the good mic one more time. We'll see.
Okay. Let's see. No, you're gone. You're back.
Yeah, might have to use the Bose neck device there. We'll see how it goes.
Okay, it doesn't. You sound fine, man. You sound fine. Nobody would know. I'm looking at the big fancy microphone with the shock mount, and all of that, but only I know. So
they only notice when I'm in the middle of.
Right.
They're like, wait, what? Huh? 2020, 2021, you got to have all your mics in order.
Yeah, you do. You have to. Now, let's actually start there.
Sounds good.
Is it possible to get darker or more wrong than we did in 2020?
I think the answer I'd like to say to that is have we gone darker than that? Yeah, probably. But man, watching it in the age of communication and social media and global consciousness awareness, wow, what a mess.
Yeah, I know. And it's so easy now to go into the frame of mind, no matter what happens in the future. Your answer is, well, man, it's not 2020, right? No matter what. That's your answer. Yeah. Well,
they say when you can start seeing things really clearly with 2020 vision, you also notice all the dirt and dust bunnies in the corners and all the stuff that you hadn't cleaned up yet. I think we've got a lot to clean up in this country and in the world.
Do you feel that we've taken the turn?
I feel that we're on the way to a more enlightened people on Earth. And sometimes that means facing the darkest shadows, the deepest distortions, the places where we lie to ourselves and to each other. And a lot of the greatest challenges that I think we faced in the last year came from people acting out of desperation and in a desire for hope. And that hope may have looked a lot of different ways to a lot of different people. But can we move forward from here? I think we can if we're willing to be accepting of each other, to realize that we're all in this together, and that it's the choices that are compassionate, that are understanding, that are accepting, that stand for goodness and principles and ethics and truth. Those are the things that move us collectively in a way that creates coherence and peace on earth.
We were tested, weren't we?
Yeah.
We were tested. I mean, right? I don't know of another way to look at it except the challenge was laid out there. We were tested, and now we know how far it can go and how quickly it can get there, because it happened. It happened fast, and it was a whole lot of different challenges all at the same time, globally, right? Tested,
That's right.
Completely tested, and what can we? I mean, I understand everything that you just said, but what's the one thing that we can take away from it that is a positive?
I think there's a lot of positive things that we can take away from it, Jimmy. But I feel that one of the most important things for us to take away is a greater capacity for discernment, that we actually become the guardians of our own truth and understanding, that we acknowledge that while there may be a lot of information and a lot of stories out there and a lot of ideas, creating a huge amount of noise in the global field, the one place, the one person that can actually access the sense of truth is within us. It's our own lens that determines so much of what we see. And a lot of us contract our lenses when we're in fear, when we're in pain, when we've come from trauma. And that makes it more difficult to see what's really going on. So as we work through our own fear, our own pain, that healing that we do on ourselves actually allows us to see more clearly and understand all people more deeply.
You know what's funny? So many out there who have never even used the word discernment in their lives, or won't use the word in the future either. Right? It's not.
It's true.
But they certainly will practice it without even knowing what the word is, because now the next time around they will be practicing discernment.
Fool me once.
You're right.
Yeah. Fool me twice.
Man.
Yeah. We all get fooled. We all get lost sometimes.
And there is this is an opportunity for us because we've been talking about discernment in our community for years, right? Discernment. You've got to practice discernment. But this is also a time for empathy and for understanding, because anybody can get fooled. Right? There's that part. Anybody can get stressed out where they didn't use discernment, but they are certainly dealing with money issues or children issues, education issues, living issues in general. This is where empathy and understanding and compassion for everybody needs to be practiced, where before we were probably just living things, party. There wasn't, right? Now I'm being very, very serious about this. We never really had issues like this that were this great, where we had to look at.
I do.
Yeah.
I do very much feel sorry, though, for the seniors who didn't get to party last year. I actually met a few high school seniors that work at my grocery store. And I was like, man, I feel bad for the seniors that didn't get to actually enjoy 2020, because that was a great year for me when I was a senior in high school. Like, I really loved that time. And wow, it was tough for them. I mean, imagine just nothing. You can't go anywhere. There's no party. There ain't no celebration. This happy graduation, like.
Yeah.
I graduated 20 years ago.
Yeah.
I was going to have my 20-year reunion.
There's a rite of passage, man. The senior prom. Yep. I mean, that is just, oh, man. I can't imagine living without that. But, yeah, right?
I didn't go to the prom, but, yeah, I hear you.
Oh, you're just talking about letting loose in general. Well, I did a lot of that my senior year. I've got too many people out there that know me for my senior year, and I can't claim any innocence. No.
Good times.
Yeah,
Good
it
times.
was, man. 1981, senior year in high school. Okay. Now, here's the thing. I want to talk about Amanda Gorman. And today, talking about feeling things turn around, right? That maybe we are on the other side of this. Did you get a chance to see her poetry today?
My God, that young woman is one of the most eloquent and amazing poets I have heard in my lifetime. She is beautiful and so skillful with her words.
I took me by surprise. I'd never heard of her, right? I didn't nobody did really, except for somebody in the Biden administration knew who she was, but that was so powerful and so strong. I thought to myself, the nation is seeing this right now, and certainly everybody there for the inauguration was seeing this live. And I think that it was very moving for everybody. How could you not be moved by that? For so many reasons, too, as well. For so many reasons. Yeah. At 22 years old. 22? It's like, wait. You know, when I was 22... No, I'm not even going to go there.
Yeah, don't diverge to that.
Yeah.
I mean, there were moments, Jimmy, when she was talking, like, I just saw this beacon, this leader who's standing for the principles that I stand for, that will grow into a powerful leader who will potentially lead this nation. I mean, my God, she mentioned her interest in being president. I'm like, you're hired. And she said this one phrase, and I won't do it justice to the exact wording that she used, but what rang in my heart was she said something like, "May we leave a legacy of love as our children's birthright."
She had, yes. And see, this is the thing. Every line in her poem today, in her poetry, was equally as strong as the previous. It was like that. But it was her pacing and how she laid it out, right? There's no way that you could ever say these words and have the effect that she does with it and her communication skills. It was incredible.
That's right.
I mean, I was I was like, man, I need to write that down. I need to write that down. I need to write that down too. Yeah, she was strong.
Call her up, Jimmy. You should ask her to be a writer for the show, or come on and share some of her other poetry, because I think she's an award-winning young poet. That's how she got the job. And I imagine some of her other poetry is probably just fantastic. And you should have her on and just have her rock a whole session with you.
I found out today, she lives here in Los Angeles. She graduated from Harvard. Okay?
Nice.
And so things just started to become a little bit more clear for me on her. She, what a talent. What a talent. But, I think my point in this is that it was inspiring, but I think that after the last year, after the election cycle, after all the drama, January 6th, everything that this nation has been through, she appeared on the nation's screens today and showed us that is our future. There is hope, and things aren't that bad. And that's what I got out of it today.
Remember the name, ladies and gentlemen, Amanda Gorman.
Yeah, no.
Remember that name.
No joke. Now, let's talk about 2021. Do you see if we look at where we are today, and this is not a political conversation. I'm not going to go there, but if we look at the low point coming off of 2020. If that is where we were, say, on January 6th, if that's as low as you go kind of thing, is it nothing but one day will be better than the last for the rest of the year? There's a lot of work in front of us, but do you look at 2021 that way?
I do. Personally, I feel like that's exactly the momentum and direction of my own life and my own life experience. And I truly hope that that is true for all of us together, and that this year is an epic year of manifestation. And I use that word very consciously in this case because 2021 is, it equals 5. And 5 is a really powerful number. 5 is the pentagram, and the pentagram or pentagon is the geometric structure that conditions the phi ratio or the golden mean spiral, which is literally the geometry of how life and matter and creation happens. Without that geometric structure, you don't get a curve in a proton, so you don't get mass. You don't get curve in space-time, so you don't get gravity. You don't get DNA because DNA is literally made of the phi spiral in expression. And all life really comes from this. So I think it's an important year that we put our attention on the actions and creations, the life that we make together. 2021 is also important to me in the context of what I call the unified harmonic matrix, because as you move up through the harmonic system of the body, if you treat the chakras as kind of like vibrational interfaces that speak to different octaves of music in the universe, by the time you get up to the third eye and the crown, the third eye is the 18. It goes up through 19, and then 20 to 21 is literally the click that opens the crown chakra. It opens that space of receptivity. You can think of it as turning on the antenna to the truth. And I think that that's something that we will definitely experience this year, is that lighting up of our antenna to a greater truth that unites us, connects us, and makes us whole instead of false truths that divide us.
Where is the critical time for acknowledging this? Is it like out of the gate, this first couple of weeks, to set the path for the rest of the year?
I think that all things that we create come from clarity of our mind and vision. If we don't have a clear crystal in our own minds, then our emotions can be messy. When we're in confusion, we feel conflicted. We don't know what to feel. Do we feel happy? Do we feel sad? What do we do? And so there's a little bit of a mental purge we've got to go through to kind of clear out some of the muck, the old belief systems, the old crystals, maybe the new belief systems that you got swept up into in this last year. Mind ideas are like magic, and they're spells, and they connect to our language. And the spells that we cast, that we take on, they can come back to bite us. And so we have to learn how to change our spells when we feel the sting of the pain. It's like responding to the karma and choosing a different action so that we gain a different result. And now we have to choose, how are we going to think in such a way that lets us feel good and make actions for good on earth together?
Is that one of the reasons why we went into the darkness so quickly in 2020? Because we were confused. We didn't know what the future was. There was nothing that was determined on any front, whether it was the economy or politics or travel, schools, healthcare. Everything was undetermined. Nobody had any answers. Is that why we went dark so quick?
Well, election years are very interesting. And if we look at 2016 as a marker, and we acknowledge things like the testimonies of people in movies like The Great Hack, we can see that there was intentional marketing that was going on that was designed to manipulate consciousness that went to an all-time high in 2016. Well, an all-time high in 2016 is a small fraction of the level of information that was being pushed through every pipe imaginable in 2020. And a lot of that information was laden with agendas. So we were being blasted by manipulation campaigns before COVID even happened, right? Before people even started getting sick. And so then all of a sudden you have this, disease spreading around the planet, and you've got people confused about it in every way. Like, what is this thing? Is it from China? Is it from cell phone towers? Was it created by the US government? Is it a deep state action to take out the people? Is this the cabal trying to kill us? I mean, you've got 1,000 narratives and nobody has the answer. So every narrative is a thread that could be pulled to another potential conclusion and another potential theory. And there's a lot of people that took advantage of that to try to get people to pull the threads that would lead them to belief systems that served their own agendas and interests.
And there was the other part. Am I going to die? Right? That was the other part.
Ooh, fear of death.
Fear of death. Right. And this dark cloud. And as it turned out, if we go back to the beginning of 2020, when there was 500 COVID deaths, right? Well, okay. All right. And you look at where we are now a year later. Okay. That part of it is a reality for so many. I got COVID.
That's right.
And when I got COVID, I immediately, I'm like, man, is this it? Right? Mm-hmm. Is this it? And I really had to face some very mental challenges that I'm not going to, I didn't talk or discuss this with anybody, but you're forced into thinking it. And so many are, right? And hopefully we can remove that veil going into 2021. When this pandemic will start to show its end, and that fear is lifted, right?
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting to me, and I think important to acknowledge that when people are faced with something like a pandemic, are faced with war, are faced with persecution, the experience of facing the potentiality of your imminent death before you desire that to happen can drive us a lot of directions. And unless we've, developed a sense of peace inside with what we've accomplished and what we've created, and come to some semblance of surrender to the path that our life may take, and or that it may come to an end, we can start scrambling to find some answer, something to try to cling on to, something to fight, anything that would point us to the potential of our death and the fear surrounding it. I mean, this is why for the samurai, the practice of meditating on dying every possible way was a conditioning that they would do, so that when in a situation of crisis or violence, there would be no fear of death. Total surrender meant total peace, and that peace inside allowed them to move with greater flow and precision, and of course, dangerousness.
Let's take our break right here. Our guest tonight, Adam Apollo. This is Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. When we come back, we're going to talk about what is actually going on now with live events. We have the Conscious Life Expo that's coming up next month, and how this is shifted, and how we can use that for an effective communication tool. And is this just the future? I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Our guest tonight, Adam Apollo. We'll be right back after this short break. Stay with us.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station, Salt Lake City, Utah, Van Buren, Arkansas.
Hello, my name is Billy Carson, and I am a best-selling author and the founder of ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. Together with my team, we have built an all-new conscious streaming TV platform designed with every family member in mind. If you have ever wanted to travel the world and attend lectures and workshops from your favorite speakers but weren't able to, look no further. ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. There are dozens of workshops and lectures from speakers you know and love. We have also included amazing categories to assure that your consciousness is entertained and elevating on a daily basis. Amazing interviews, ancient history, ascension knowledge, wisdom teachings, documentaries, conspiracies, mysteries, health and fitness, conscious cooking, meditations, finance, yoga, and so much more. To start your free trial on any mobile device or computer, surf to forbiddenknowledge.tv. That's Forbidden Knowledge with the number 4, forbiddenknowledge.tv. Again, visit forbiddenknowledge.tv today.
Listen, I know, and you know, that you've always wanted your first crystal skull. Or maybe you're a collector just like me, but you just don't know where to go to find the real thing. Then I met Carolyn Ford over at EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com. Carolyn is the guardian of Einstein, one of the most respected ancient crystal skulls in the world. All of her unique skulls have been imprinted sitting with Einstein in his sacred lodge and are carved from the finest gemstone and materials. Imprinting is the process of receiving the ancient wisdom from the master skull or master computer. Einstein, the ancient crystal skull. To see Carolyn's current collection of crystal skulls, just visit her store at EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com or click on the banner over on our site. Don't forget to use the promo code Jimmy at checkout to receive 10% off of your order today. That's promo code Jimmy. Finding your first or next crystal skull is easy. Just visit EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com. When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of fade to black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Yes, Rivermoon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Teppy.
Hello, I'm Katie, and you're listening to my main man, Jimmy Church, on jimmychurchradio.com.
Hi, this is Ray Hobbs here repping the planet, and you're listening to my good friend, Jimmy Church, Fade to Black, on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA Digital Broadcast Station.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to jimmychurchradio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And this is Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers. We are also the Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And I'm Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers.
And you're listening to Jimmy Church.
The Revolution.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and you can become an official Fadernaut by just going to our membership section at jimmychurchradio.com.
Hello, this is Serena Wright-Taylor from Conscious Life Expo, and you're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church, who holds the Lucky Pony record for the best astrological chart since 1963. True story.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gralien Report, and you're listening to Jimmy Church on Fade to Black, across the globe on the Game Changer Radio Network and the one and only KGRA Radio, The Planet.
Welcome back. Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Our guest tonight, Adam Apollo. Now, we've got a lot of stuff that we're going to be talking about tonight, and one of the things I'm very excited, we are announcing the 2021 Conscious Life Expo this evening, and this is, everybody can go over to consciouslifeexpo.com. Over at jimmychurchradio.com, we've got some amazing banners right there that you can click on and take you straight there. But this is what is so cool for me. One, I'm hosting the whole weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I'll be worn out. It's going to be so much fun. But Friday night, the keynote address, Adam Apollo. Right there, man. Friday night. You excited?
Yeah, man. It's going to be a great night. We're
Now,
going to talk about ancient mysteries.
And this is with the pandemic, a very strange thing has come out of this, which is all of these conferences now. We don't have a choice. We have to go to a virtual setting with this. But I think it's forced us into taking a look at what the future can be for events like this. Now, it's, to be there live is great. That's hopefully that's not ever going to go away, and that'll come back. But this is now an opportunity to take advantage of the technology that is there, and just go global with this and worldwide. That's the future, isn't it?
You know, Jimmy, when we met at Contact in the Desert, I was pretty shocked that they were still printing the talks to DVDs and selling people physical DVDs. And I approached Victoria afterwards and I said, why don't you sell online subscriptions to the video content or sell the videos online? Because then it's not just all the attendees that can buy DVDs and see these talks, that anyone in the world can watch these. As you know, there was tons of amazing talks at that particular conference. And it would have been such an honor and so awesome for me as a living record of my life to be seen on that panel with you, honoring Graham Hancock for his incredible work over all of his years of life. And, that was just such an honor for me to be sitting with him and in that panel with you. And I wish more people could see that conversation that we had.
And you're right about that. And Conscious Life Expo and Contact in the Desert, two of the biggest events anywhere in the world, right? And the audience I'm talking about the worldwide audience, the potential audience. They don't know about the vibe that we had in the room that night. And that should have been shared. There was 2,000 people, right? Packed. That's a big audience.
Roaring standing ovation for 10 minutes or something.
and to be able to share that, I totally agree. And that this type of technology needs to be the future. There's another thing. I want to talk about what and how you approach this, where it's virtual as opposed to being live. There's a different vibe. But bands that are playing, doing these virtual concerts right now, that's great, but that's not the same as playing in front of a couple of thousand people or 200 people in a bar, right? There's a different approach to it. But also this year, for the first time, I've never seen this done before, at the Conscious Life Expo, as an attendee to this virtual event, you will be able to create your own avatar. Okay, so you can go and interact with you. You could have your Adam Apollo avatar. You could be wandering around, and you can communicate in a virtual sense. It's almost gamified. I think that is. I think that's totally cool. I can't wait to create my avatar. I don't know what you're going to look like. You're going to be dressed in white leather, right? I can see that. Okay. Listen. You are wearing a sit-up. You're wearing a sit-up, so I can see you. You're wearing like a Jedi shirt.
Yeah, that's right. Generally.
That is cool.
My sweater actually buckles.
Yeah, he's got,
and I'm looking for the right pauldron to put on it too, so I can have a nice leather armor, arm guard.
He's got leather buckles on this shirt, 3 or 4 of them. Very Star Wars-ish. Very cool. Very cool. But
I enjoy sweaters in the wintertime, but most sweaters I'm just like, man, that's like every sweater is a Christmas sweater to me. But these are awesome and super comfortable.
So being able to, as an attendee, it's one thing to have like some type of Zoom experience, which everybody is quite acclimated to now. But to have this where you have your own avatar and you can wander around, you can go into the virtual vendor area and interface. This is the future, right? This is something that nobody's experienced before with this type of virtual conference. I think it's exciting.
Yeah. Yeah, my friend Lyle Maxton works with a group that is building right now a whole series of fantastic virtual worlds that are much like universities, with different areas of the virtual world that are hubs where different speakers will come in at different times and talk. And with the right VR outfit, you can go in, explore the world, pay to join a talk, be led into one of these incredible castles or temple structures, and hear great speakers from around the world. It's an amazing project. And I think it's a sign of what's coming and where we're going, where we can soften the edges between, how we learn, how we grow, how we interact locally with how we do globally. Allowing us to feel perhaps even more connected if we're wise about how we leverage and use those technologies.
Yeah, necessity is the mother of invention, right? And here we are. Because of the pandemic, this has been laid out for us because we had to, right? And yeah. I just find that exciting. But this is the trippy part, okay? Let's say we're living in a simulation. It's possible. We just may be. But now we're in a simulation inside of the simulation.
Everything's a fractal.
Right. And I've often thought about that. If we are living in a simulation, I think you and I talked about this before, but if we're living in a simulation and you upload your consciousness and your memories onto a hard drive and go into that virtual world for immortality, then you are again inside a simulation inside of a simulation. And then in that world, you could do it again, right?
Yeah, my CTO and one of my best friends, Harlan Wood, gave me a book called Accelerando at one point by this guy, Charles Strauss. Absolutely brilliant book, and it goes on a hypercurve from a guy with AR glasses who's chilling on Earth, and he's coming up with ideas all day long, recording them into the cloud, saving them as open source, and distributing them around the world. And so everywhere he goes, people just hook him up because he open sources so many things, to traveling on starships, to other worlds, to people uploading their consciousness into devices, to nanobot clouds that literally form environments around us at will. It's a very beautiful and interesting view of the future. And I'll say that from my standpoint as a unified physicist, I've come to understand that the fabric of space-time is actually the ultimate hard drive, that space-time itself is actually already designed to be the highest level computing system that we can imagine. And what we're really doing is we're just working towards interoperability with its incredible storage, because once we access the information storage within space-time itself, the Akasha, as they would say, opens up to us.
I'm in the middle of David Deutsch's last book. He goes right here with all of this. He's like, man, the quantum world, when we are in the quantum world, it is a hard drive. And we get into the multi-world and the multiverse side of things, and you wonder about the infinite versions of yourself or other worlds. The quantum world gives you this. So living in a simulation or living in a multi-world or parallel worlds, this is what the quantum world gives you. It's just part of what it is.
Yeah, and it gets more and more interesting. I actually have some recent research that I've been working on, and I presented to our students at the Resonance Science Foundation's academy, the Resonance Academy. It's not Renaissance, by the way, Jimmy, just for
Did I
future
say
reference on my bio.
Renaissance? I didn't say Renaissance.
It's a Renaissance, though. It is. It's totally okay. It's the it's the resonant Renaissance.
What did I text you earlier? I said I'm adult, right?
Anyway,
Thank
I was
you.
talking to the students and shared with them some of this work that I've been doing in the field of quantum geometry, because one of my core areas of study outside of my other tech work and projects has been in understanding the geometry and structure of the proton. And it turns out that when you look at a proton's structure and you model it as a super high tensegrity geodesic, that at these it's 12 different points around the sphere, they're what are called these vector vortices. That's what I like to call them. And they're pentagonal intersection structures that go all the way down into the core of the proton. And the way that they stack on each other, if you connected the dots, connect the lines between the ways that they're stacking up, the structure is literally identical to DNA. It's as if you were looking at DNA from the top. And I started thinking, wow, what if somehow, what if this is actually the mechanism through which protons receive, store, and transmit information to each other in spacetime? So protons actually are the hard drives of spacetime. And as I was diving into this research further and modeling this structure and looking at all of these synergies and overlaps with DNA, I came across a very, very interesting fact, which is that when I looked at the entire structure of the proton itself, if you count all of the Planck level oscillations that make up the structure of the proton, what we call Planck spherical units, they're like the tiniest little bundles of light that are structured together, forming this fabric of space. There happens to be 10 to the 60th of these little guys inside of one proton. Well, guess how many Planck seconds are in the age of the entire universe? 10 to the 60.
10 to the 60, which, okay, that's an extraordinarily long number.
That's a massive number.
Yes.
And the coincidence that the number of Planck units, in other words, the number of little spheres vibrating inside a proton, is equal to the number of Planck seconds in the universe. Now, of course, you could be growing, the proton could be growing at hundreds of thousands or millions or even billions of new Plancks a second, and it's not going to make a dent on that 10 to the 60th for a billion years.
No, trillion years.
So
yeah.
Every proton in the universe could literally be growing, recording everything in the entire universe within every proton. In other words, every proton is a fractal of the entire time space of the universe itself.
Do those spheres have mass?
So protons have mass because they're curved space-time. And so mass is actually an expression of curvature of space-time, because curvature of space-time is gravity, right? But protons also spin at the speed of light. So where they would normally create a massive amount of pull on the surrounding space, because they're literally like a miniature black hole. They're where space curves to infinity at the core of the proton. But that through the gravitational pull around them, they're generating mass, but by spinning at the speed of light also, where it's at light speed, that mass is the effect of the proton in the surrounding space is sheared. And so suddenly there's less of a pull on the surrounding space. You can think of it as like a little spaceship floating around, and it's got something spinning so fast that it's like it's hovering in space and it's not having a strong pull on it. If it stopped spinning, it would suddenly pull everything around it into it in a massive way, because it's highly curved space. But because it's spinning so fast, it's as if it has very little mass. And that tiny bit of mass we measure in these little proton spaceships that are floating around everywhere is what we call the proton mass. And the aggregate of all of those together as they build up and build structures and compress together then gives us the experience of gravity that we have around massive objects like the Earth, Sun, and etc.
Now, and so that same basic particle is what makes us up, right? Us, but also this coffee cup, right?
That's right.
This pen, the sun, the galaxy, the universe, and everything.
Basically.
How do you explain that in a presentation at Conscious Life Expo? How do you bring that down?
I have visuals, Jimmy. It helps to have visuals. I love the radio shows, but it definitely helps to have visuals.
Yeah, because you have to everybody's got to understand it. You're not speaking to just one. You're not speaking to another physicist, right? You're speaking to everybody at the same time. How do you handle that?
You know, there's very simple analogies and stories that we can tell that reveal the depth of the beauty in these things. And it's as simple as a mother feeling what's happening with her child in another room. Like, that doesn't get explained by standard physics, but it does get explained when you start looking at entanglement as a consciousness and physics-based phenomena, as an actual resonance between 2 points in space where information can be transferred instantly. And now, if protons are hard drives for the universe, and they're also fractal representations of all space-time in the universe, then they're the ideal little bells that when one rings the right way and another's ringing the same way, they can connect and information can get shared between them. Now, for us, we see that there's this distance or this separation that light has to travel between us and the things all around us. But does the light actually have to travel for information to travel between those two spaces? Princeton Engineering Anomalies Research Group would say absolutely not. That in fact, information has been proven over and over and over again to be able to be transmitted instantaneously and actually prior to measurement. You know, they did experiments where they had a specific number code, and that number code was going to be put in an envelope and put in a room where a person had to describe the location associated with that number code. They had not yet decided where the location was that was going to be associated with that number code. They were going to randomly select it from a group of locations. And still, the person in the room described the location that they hadn't chosen yet to 85 to 90% accuracy. Now, this person had developed the skill a little bit, but average people got a 60 to 70% accuracy level. That's better than half, right? And so we know that we have the capacity to receive and transmit information through space. And any of us that have ever felt a vibe or had a thought about a friend and suddenly they call you on the phone, or felt someone looking at you from across the room, has experienced some of this phenomena that exists in the way that consciousness interoperates with this fabric of space-time that interconnects us.
Now, I want to talk more about this after the break, but before we get there, we got a few minutes. Is this triggered by observation first, or measurement, observation, whichever way you want to choose it, and that's firing off the entanglement at that moment, but subconsciously, I mean, we don't know what's happening?
I think that there are parts of us that are connected, so well connected with parts of other things and other people, whether that be by the storage of neuronal structures in our brain, particular nervous system growth that's happened throughout our body. It can be stored in our musculature, in our gland systems, and that these parts of us can receive information or be in resonance with another piece of information before we observe it. In other words, we're already in an exchange, and we may or may not observe it.
We're already
we may or may not.
Right, we're already entangled before the observation. Right. Wow, that's fascinating. That's fascinating. Okay, I had Isaac Arthur, the physicist, on the show a couple of weeks ago. And Isaac's great. And this is the thing, and I got him to laugh. It's when it comes down to measurement and observation in physics and quantum physics, that part of it is so fascinating that there's no definition for it, right? You can't get two physicists to agree what measurement is, or when it takes place, or when observation happens, right? You just laughed. You just laughed, just like Isaac Arthur did, because the foundation of all of this is measurement, but nobody knows what it is. So I'm going to ask you, what's your definition of measurement?
You can't take consciousness out of observation. And if consciousness is inherently connected to the fabric of space, then what measurement is a reflection of our own perception of that which is. In other words, if we get really down to the roots of it, and we look at the work of Alan Green, for example, on the Great Pyramid of Giza and on the relationship between the sphere and the cube, he definitively proves that the imperial system of the inch and the foot and the mile, the metric system, centimeter, meter, kilometer, etc., and the Egyptian cubit, as well as the standard cubit, are all completely related. In fact, they're embedded into our relationship with space-time itself, which means that those measurement structures were already inherent for us to discover about our own observation of things. And we may have chosen things to say, this is relevant to this measurement or this type of observation that we have. But the entanglement between us and how we perceive and observe things is unshakable. It's pre-existent. It's universal. It's all one, as Shakespeare would say.
Isn't it fascinating how I often wonder, do dogs ponder this? Right? Do other sentient creatures ponder? Do they look up at the sky and go, wow, I wonder if there are other dogs out there? Because we are able to now go into this thought at the quantum level and discuss what that actually means, and to think about it and to question it. I think that's the most fascinating part of human nature and the brain.
It is. And I think that we have a lot to learn from the animal kingdom. I think there are levels and styles of operation of intelligence that are simply distinct and different from our own, and yet no less amazing in their capacity for understanding. I mean, think about it this way. You look at a dolphin, and they're able to, by producing a sound, have a three-dimensional, almost like augmented reality perception of all the objects in three-dimensional space around them, including through how the waves bounce back, who's around them, what vibe they've got, what they want to do. Like that's something that we don't have the capacity to do. And then you look at like even very small, insects, and their perception of time must simply be drastically different from ours in order for that little fly to keep avoiding your fly swatter, and just moving around at super, super high speed. And these are just different kinds of operations of consciousness. And I think it's important for us to respect that as humans.
Yeah, I often think about that. You're sitting poolside, right? Or you're out at the ocean, dolphin comes up, and you've got a, E equals MC squared, and you're just looking at, and you look at the, you wouldn't understand. And the dolphin looks back at you going, dude, you just don't get it at all.
Right. The dolphin does a couple clicks, and it's literally just giving you the information sound resonance of how the sun refracts through water.
Just told you, just gave you the algorithm for M theory.
Exactly.
But let's take our break right here. Our guest tonight, Adam Apollo. A lot more to discuss. And we're going to stay with consciousness as promised when we come back after this break. I'm your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet. Stay with us.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
Always on the edge of the hottest alternative talk. Jimmy Church with Fade to Black. KGRARadio.com.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
Do you want to be an official Fadernaut? Of course you do. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black. Just go to our membership section at jimmychurchradio.com. Fadernauts. When you think about the future of our country and where we're headed, do you wonder about the food supply? I do. Disruptions in the food supply chain could be disastrous, and they usually occur with little warning. That's why the smartest thing you can do today is to stockpile emergency food, water, and other essentials. I personally recommend My Patriot Supply. They're the nation's largest emergency preparedness company, serving millions of customers for more than a decade. In fact, they're the only source my family trusts for our preparedness plan. You should too. Right now, save 20% off a full 4-week supply of delicious meals that provide 2,000 calories a day. Saving 20% helps too, doesn't it? Especially now. So go to preparewithjimmy.com and get ready. That's preparewithjimmy.com. There's no time to lose. Do it now.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
You listen to us, and we listen to you. And so does the CIA. KGRARadio.com.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Our guest tonight, Adam Apollo. More with Adam in just a second. I want to talk to you about Virtual Shield VPN. I've got a huge studio here. I've got lots of computers. Everything runs Virtual Shield VPN. But right now, that's not the big concern for me, because there are suggestions that our credit scores may be based on our internet history in the near future. You hear chatter about this. It's starting to become a reality. The same way banks use data like income to judge your credit eligibility now is how websites could use internet search history in the future. If that doesn't freak you out, researchers studying the relationship between finance and tech found that data from your browsing, search, and purchase history could actually be used to decide your credit. Think about that. Now, if you want to prevent this from happening to you, use the very best VPN you can. Use Virtual Shield. All right, you can now separate your search history from your personal data. I highly recommend Virtual Shield. It's built from the ground up for privacy. That's why there is a strict no logs policy. Simple. Go to virtualshield.com/fade to black or head over to jimmychurchradio.com, click on the advertising that's there, or click on the link in the video description box below, and you will get Virtual Shield VPN for 50% off today. Virtual Shield VPN. Now, before I get back to Adam, stay right there. I just got this email during the break, and it's pretty cool. It's from Sean. Sean says, Jimmy, love your show. And I've got a gear question. I'm not making this up, Adam. Stay with me because you've got the slick setup there too as well. But he said, Jimmy, your arm for your microphone has got an extension on it. And he's talking about this right here, everybody. Very interesting. He wants to know what that is. He wants the same setup. Okay, first off, the arm is a Tascam. So if you go to Tascam.com, you can go to their accessories section on the website and get the same boom arm that I have here. I've got a Heel Audio extension in the back. But this is Shure. And Shure makes an extension tube, and I have 2 of them. Okay? So if you go to Shure, you can search Shure mic extension tube, and they've got one, and I stacked them one on top of another to do that. And the reason why I did it is so the boom arm is out of the way of my monitors. So thank you for noticing that. That's very cool, and it's a cool email, Sean, and I'll actually reply to the email later and put all the details in it. Now, Adam, I want to talk about consciousness because what I find interesting is when you get physicists. Okay, all right. No, let's discuss it like this. There's philosophy and consciousness, and then science, and the two will not mix. It's like oil and water. At least they don't want it to be. All of these quantum dudes out there, they don't want to come off like spiritual. Right. They don't, or consciousness. No, I don't have time for that. It's very interesting.
I don't have time.
Right. Right. And,
Yeah.
and
That's
you bring it up and it's funny because these seminars, these conferences go on, and then they'll have an open mic and they'll start taking questions, and somebody will inevitably, right, step up and go, okay, but what is consciousness? And they know it's coming, and they don't want to answer the question. It's like they don't want to offend their fan base, right? And why is it that way? Why is it that the hard sciences it's like kryptonite? They don't want to discuss consciousness.
Well, the people are scared of what they don't understand. And when it's something that seems so foundational, so absolutely foundational to everything that we do, everything that we study, how we approach everything, addressing a question like that can feel overwhelming. I'm sure that I asked many questions. Like I remember asking one of my teachers in high school, what is energy? And I watched them stumble and fumble and try to get out of it and redirect it. And I'm like, wait, no, you didn't answer my question. Like, hold on here. And it's tough to be pinned down with a question that has answers as deep and profound and important as what is consciousness. And I think that, there's also this resistance to sort of accepting or understanding that all the work done before us has led us to where we are now, because we haven't always had physicists, Jimmy. They were philosophers. That's what a physicist was. It was a philosopher. And at some point, the study of philosophy focused in enough on physical materia operations and the particular dynamics of what we now call thermodynamics, aerodynamics, geodynamics, and hydrodynamics, but which are basically fire, air, earth, and water. Thermodynamics is just an advanced study of fire, right? Aerodynamics is the study of air. These are the same elementals that the philosophers were studying back before Descartes. And in a lot of the early days of science, we were studying literally the structure of space-time and the ether and this underlying field. But as things went along, it got a little messy because the church started to look at the idea that, scientists or philosophers had perhaps more knowledge about something that was seemingly ephemeral than they did. And then, people had to go underground. And you had guys like Isaac Newton who were closet alchemists. In public they were aristocratic gentlemen and studying hard science and physics, and in private he's studying alchemy and the nature of consciousness and the nature of the elementals and the interoperation of things. And so I think that's a big part of it, and also a lot of our current academic world and school systems try to hammer out everything that's not in the curriculum so hard that they actually block the truth. And funny enough, that's what my talk at Conscious Life Expo is about. It's about actually who we are and where we came from, and asks the question, what if the theories we learned in history are built on false premises, filtered by ethnocentric scribes, tilted by religious doctrines, judgments, and persecutions? What if our true history is actually hidden in the mists of mythology, the origin stories of people around the world, and encoded in the ancient stone structures around the planet? Like, we may have gotten too caught up in our theories and our ideas and our belief systems, and now we're ignoring the truth that's looking us right in the face.
Is it because we were talking about measurement earlier, where the Sean Carrolls and the Brian Greens and the Michio Kakus of the world, these rock star physicists, can't measure, can't quantify consciousness. So therefore, if they can't observe it, they can't put it into an equation. Therefore, in their black and white world, it just doesn't exist.
Just because you can observe something doesn't mean you understand it. Most of our particle theory is based on slamming two protons together at almost the speed of light and taking photos of the wreckage. Like, just because one line curves and dots in a certain direction, often more than another, doesn't mean that we're dealing with actual particles, doesn't mean we're actually in a space to understand those. Even if we often see one spiral spin right, one spiral spin left, and another one kind of go off this way, like, everything that we've built on the standard model of quantum mechanics are theoretical structures, not fact structures, by the way. They're theoretical structures based on experimental observations that are not that easy to understand. They're not clear and plain as day. I've read as many papers about the W and Z bosons that are released when a neutron decays into a proton that say, we actually don't really understand what these are or if they're particles or at all. It seems that some amount of force is being exchanged, so we'll call it a force exchange being particle. But there's not detailed understanding of these things. And the way I described a proton shortly ago, that is far beyond the standard model understanding of the proton that you will find anywhere in modern mainstream academia right now.
I remember I watched a document, the boson day, right? The day when the photograph was taken and they're looking at it, and I'm looking at the image, and everybody, the discoveries, and I'm like, you don't know what that is, right? Don't even tell me. I'm looking at that, and that, and to think that they are deducing all of this information from that image, I don't want to call BS on it, but you don't know what's in that image. You do not.
I mean, I think it's fair to suggest there could be a little BS, and that becomes a more significant proposition when you understand the financial situation those individuals were in, where $10 billion a year is being put into finding the Higgs boson, the God particle. You got to show something to the investors after a couple of years of smashing stuff together. But what is the Higgs boson and what is the Higgs field? Well, when you get down to Peter Higgs' work on this, all he's doing is he's redescribing the essence of an underlying field. That's the Higgs field, something that has the power to give things mass or take it away. Well, sorry, buddy, but Einstein already worked that out along with Planck, to the fact that space-time itself, is a structure that curves and warps and bends. And as that curvature and change of structure happens, suddenly we get matter, we get mass, right? The aggregation of space-time into a sphere becomes a proton. And thus you have the basic unit of mass arising from a fundamental field. And there are gestative patterns to how things come into mass and matter and out of it, that can be more classically understood than the highly abstract quantum mechanics of our standard model. And that's my frank opinion.
And that's exactly my point. When you had the Higgs boson day, right? That fantastic day, and everybody's elated, and Nobel prizes are awarded, and all of that stuff. The fact that you are able to discuss this, that is more important to me than the discovery itself. Your conscious, right? Your ability to put this into words is more fascinating. Where is that research? I don't get it. I don't get it. And that's what's so exciting about what you do. I don't understand why all of the great universities in the world and all of these foundations and this is not spent on why we can think, why we can laugh, why we can contemplate, why we can ponder. That what makes us different. All of these things, that's the more fascinating subject to me, and how this consciousness is accumulated in the smallest of particles. Let's talk about that.
Right. Well, that is the realm of the new philosopher. That's the realm of those of us that do seek that knowledge, that do look at that. And, sure, philosophy in college is great, but you're learning about the ideas and postulations of lots and lots of men before you. And it can make you feel like, oh, well, everything under the sun, every idea under the sun is a regurgitation of what somebody else has already had. But that's not true. When you become a philosopher, it's because you've started to actually ask the questions of what is life? Who are you? Who am I? How do I perceive?
Right. Where does it start? Is it accumulated? I mean, where does it start? Does a proton, a photon, is it sentient? Just a little bit, right? Just a little bit. But then it's the accumulation that is built up. I mean, where does it start?
Well, what gets really interesting is that as you notice the interconnection between all of those little points in space, all those little protons, and you start noticing the phenomena that we experience of entanglement, of shared thoughts, of shared feelings, shared emotions, and we start to look at this underlying substrate that allows us to feel when someone's looking at us from across the room, we start to see that it's not an assemblage of little parts that make up consciousness, right? That was Descartes' idea. He thought that if you broke down the human or an animal, you would get, a series of machinery, and the machinery is what makes the thing. But it's not actually like that, because it turns out that the entire field is a feedback system. The entire field has the capacity for consciousness. In other words, all of space-time may in fact be conscious of itself. And we are like endpoints of that consciousness. And also, we have our own self-contained threads, which are our individual experience traveling through time. Now, those threads, by the way, we don't know when those threads start. So there's another good origin question, right? Does the thread of you start when, a little egg and a sperm come together inside of your mother? Is that where you began? Or is that a actual mechanism in space-time that's creating a container that's a genetic braid between your mother and your father, and that container may be something that you are interested in being in? And so you choose to then be in that container and experience that life. But I can say from my own experience of having past life memories since I was 18, and I started really asking the hard questions about things, and from the thousands of people that I have talked to who have very clear, distinctive, and unmistakable memories of other times, that we are more than just, a thread that pops into existence and pops out at the time we die. That we are woven back into time immemorial, and that the more we know of who we are, the more we realize our role in the fabric of the creation of the universe and the experience of all that is. This is the great journey. It's knowing the self. And though we can be humbly acknowledging of our weaknesses and our challenges and the difficulties we face in each one of these little flesh suits, when we start to truly know who we are and we gain glimpses of that, we realize we're much greater than this, and we can leave legacies that are greater than that which we can touch with our flesh and bone.
My past life memory is I'm like a Cro-Magnon outrunning a saber-toothed tiger.
You got that,
but I don't. Yeah, but I don't have anything in between. I don't.
Jimmy, he's like, I'm taking a break. I'll come back when you guys are partially civilized.
Yeah, I mean, I can relate to. I can see that I'm running for my life. That I can see, right? But I don't have anything in between. And it's possible that I don't, right?
Yeah, it's possible.
I mean,
absolutely. I mean, everybody has their own journey. What I've also found is that some people have experienced things that were so intense and so traumatic that in that time, they chose to try to block out memory of the thing that happened.
Mm-hmm.
And when you do that, you create like a dam in the river of your own space-time thread, your stream, so to speak. And then what happens is, if you have, as you will, when you resist, when you push against something, when you block something with your consciousness, the universe is going to bring that thing right back to you. It's like a push and a pull. It's raw physics, yin and yang, give and take. And so when you have that thing come back at you in this time and it slams you, you have two choices. You either fully process it and accept it, or you block it again. And when you've blocked it again, what happens is you've now stacked this sort of resonant shield against awareness of what you were like before that experience. And when you build up enough of these, these wounds and these shields and have blocked out enough of your past, it can be pretty difficult to know who you are and really access who you are. You can face really dark nights of the soul of total lack of understanding of yourself, feeling lost and caught in the pain. And we often see people also escape from that with drugs and with addictions and with all kinds of processes to block the pain inside of them. But what happens when someone actually faces that hurt? When they actually go back, they face that pain, they face that event in their life, and they feel it fully, and they let themselves grieve, they let themselves move through and accept it all of a sudden it starts unlocking things. And for a lot of people, what happens is they unlock some major trauma, some major thing that happened in this life and in this time. And suddenly there's another memory of a similar thing happening to them. And they start seeing and feeling the things that happened before that. And oftentimes that looks like connection with other people in their life that were with them at that time.
Right.
It can look like unions, reconciliation of skills. Suddenly you realize, oh my gosh, the reason why I suck with a keyboard is that I've been used to writing with a quill pen for all of these other times. And if I actually get a quill pen and dip it in ink and I write it on paper, it's so familiar. It starts bringing back feelings, memories, experiences. But it's really about accepting all of those in order for us to travel back and to know ourselves into the ancient past.
Are these memories, are they stored? Is it part of our DNA? They have to be placed somewhere.
Yeah, so I've been studying genetics for a very long time, and I was actually an advisor to BioVision 2020 many years ago, doing talks on epigenetics and specifically why genetically modified organisms, GMOs, are such a dangerous thing. And the reality behind that is that when we look at genetics, what we've generally come to understand well is a very small amount of our DNA, which is what we consider to be hard-coded DNA. That's what we consider to be directly from our mother and father, or from the parentage of a certain strain or a certain species. And there's a whole lot more DNA that's operating in a different way and coded in a different way. And that DNA changes a lot. In fact, it changes often based on our environment. And for a long time, scientists called it junk DNA. But now what we understand is that we call it non-coding DNA, as if somehow that DNA is never going to harden and never become a part of us. But if that was true, there'd be no such thing as evolution. So we know that the effects of the environment around us, the choices we make, the things we do, code themselves into our DNA. And then that actually goes into the expression that we then pass along to our children. That's how we evolve over time. But there's also shorter term evolution that occurs. And I think that occurs because there's information structures that we hold as souls, if we call it that, as a being, as a stream moving through time and space. And that stream that you bring is going to condition genetics and gene expression in your body that's going to be different from your parents. There's reasons why certain kids look very, very different from their parents. And that is because their particular strand has a different expression that's turning off on and off certain genes, and even recoding those portions of the DNA, which are flexible, so-called non-coding DNA, to then change their hard-coded DNA and literally change the trajectory of their ancestral line.
What do you think, we've got 2 minutes before the break, what do you think 2020 is doing to our genetic makeup and our DNA? Wearing face mask and, all could we have been altered in that short evolutionary time that you were just talking about? Could that happen in 12 months?
Depends on whether we learn the lessons or not. If we can learn the lessons of respect for each other, respect for others' needs for safety and privacy, as well as respecting ourselves and what we feel is right, honoring our own immune systems, honoring our own capacity to be healthy and to develop that health for ourselves. If we can build the balance, the bridge between the total compassion and respect for where others are at, what they're feeling and what their needs are, with total sovereignty and decision making for ourselves for what we're going to choose and what we believe is right, and doing what we feel best about, then we can start to really resolve the deepest tension points of what 2020 has brought into the collective consciousness.
Yeah, I've thought about this a lot, because we are born as a baby. You recognize your mother's face, facial expressions. That's part of our DNA. That's what we do. We grow up looking at that.
Yep.
Now we've been robbed of that, right? This is what we've had for 12 months. What's going to happen when the masks come back off? Right?
Yeah.
Are we going to know what we're looking at?
I think that for kids, certainly socializing with their parents in random public spaces, masks are going to be the prevalence. But in private spaces, I imagine most moms are not wearing a mask with their kids. And when they have private gatherings or friends over, those people are probably not wearing masks in many cases. And it's really our trust networks, right? Our trust networks show us where and how we should behave and we should operate. And, maybe we can come back to this after the break, but one of my deepest passions is in surfacing these trust systems within our collective communications technologies, because we're completely missing a reflection of that within the digital world. And without that, we can't tell what to trust, where it comes from, how verifiable it is, what identity it's from. We don't know where all this stuff comes from.
I can tell you haven't had COVID yet. Me, I wear a mask.
I think I did, actually.
I wear a mask when I'm alone at home now. I wear a mask in the shower. I wear for mascot. Let's take a break. This is Fade to Black. Our guest tonight, Adam Apollo. We will continue this conversation when we come back on the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet. Stay with us.
Hi everybody, this is Rob Halford, the Metal Guard on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station. Salt Lake City, Utah. Van Buren, Arkansas.
Why is it we're not very good with our health regimen until it's too late? We don't put oil in the car until the engine blows up. When the body's out of balance, your health is not so good. Give your body some love. Log on to GetTheT.com. That's GetTheT.com. Try our Life Change Tea, which cleanses you from harmful intruders. A clean colon is one of the ways to bring the body in balance. We also carry organic supplements to help you get where you need to go. So do your body a favor. Log on to GetTheT.com. That's GetTheT.com. You can even visit our sales page to save some dough. Does anybody call money dough anymore? Anyway, if you're looking for short, helpful health tips, go to YouTube and punch in Health Matters Now. That's Health Matters Now. So, log on to GetTheT.com, shop, get balanced, then learn some cool tips at Health Matters Now. You'll be glad you did. That's GetTheT.com.
Your contact for current news and trending topics. KGRARadio.com.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and I only drink Fade to Black blend coffee from River Moon. Just click on the River Moon Coffee banner at jimmychurchradio.com. Promo code F2B Blend.
This is the only way forward.
This is Fade to Black. Make contact. KGRARadio.com.
When you're in the house for longer periods of time, you can see them flying or running across the floor. Ooh, yuck. They're unhealthy, gross, and disgusting. Bugs. I loathe bugs. We keep a clean home, but occasionally bugs show up. Well, I found something that is tougher than bugs. Orange Guard. On contact, it kills hidden bugs, including ants, roaches, and fleas. Plus, Orange Guard is a residual repellent. All of the ingredients of Orange Guard are on the FDA generally recognized as safe list. Orange Guard may be used around food, humans, and pets. It comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Orange Guard, available at orangeguard.com, Whole Foods, and Ace Hardware.
You want to know a secret? I love ponies. I really love ponies. I'm serious. I couldn't stay sane without ponies to brush.
Why Fade to Black? Because you never got that pony, damn it.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
Welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Adam Apollo. Another great conversation. One of our favorite guests. And before we move forward, Adam, what's your Twitter?
At Adam Apollo.
That's what,
ADAMAPOLLO.
Yeah, that's what we have up. I just wanted to make sure. Now,
it doesn't get posted on very often. It was supposed to be connected to my Instagram, but I don't think it works all the time. So
okay, well, we've got it up in our Twitter feed right now. I just want to make sure it was the right one. Cool. Before we move forward, continuing with the conversation, I want to jump back to a comment you made earlier about what you're going to be presenting at the Conscious Life Expo, which is could much of our history have been hidden from us, and where are we now today with that? That's part of your presentation. But I want to ask you, is it that certainly before Isaac Newton and prior to that with philosophy, going back to the beginning of everything, we had a firm grasp, apparently, of our mind. Okay, we understood the mind. We got away from that. We got totally materialistic, and I understand the reasons why. But are we about to come full circle now? Are we going to get back into our mind and consciousness and move forward with that?
Well, I would say the geometry is more like a spiral with lots and lots of little spirals or lots of little circles. So I think we come back around to things that we found were popular. In other words, vintage clothing. Every 20 years something pops out, and there we are back in, the 2000s or in the 80s, in whatever case. And then we have larger circuits and cycles, and there are parts of, I'd say, the larger cycles where we're coming back to really important philosophies and understandings held by certain people in the past. My good friend Robert Edward Grant, for example, has done a ton of amazing work with Da Vinci and unpacking and decoding Da Vinci's work and showing deep, incredible understanding of encrypted mathematics hidden within it. And then those mathematics, in Da Vinci's work, as well as what we find in Shakespeare's work, point back to an entirely earlier era, the era of the construction of the Great Pyramid of Giza. Now, according to the mathematics, research, and work that we've done around the Great Pyramid in Giza, I've been to Egypt 3 times now. I've done a lot of studies there. I worked extensively with a lot of different researchers around different aspects of what happened in Egypt. And I can tell you conclusively, beyond the shadow of a doubt, the Great Pyramid was built long before we currently believe it has been. In other words, it's not the Pyramid of Khufu, period. The Great Pyramid is an encoded device from a prior age to the history that we have, from before the end of the last ice age, the period of time that some call the Atlantean age, perhaps, or if we were going to use the correct term, it would be the pre-Diluvian era. And that single object on the planet, the pyramid, has in its geometry of construction every single mathematical constant that we now know, most of which haven't even been understood or found, supposedly, until in the last couple hundred years. Now, how did they encode every single mathematical constant into an object with millions of stones, right? That's over a quarter square mile base, and do it with unbelievable precision, like ridiculous levels of precision that are mind-boggling, right? And how did they move these massive stones into position in the king's chamber and perfectly smooth them and tile them and structure them together? How did they make the chambers hit exactly perfect resonant frequencies? And it's not just the Great Pyramid that does this. There's all of these objects all over Egypt, all over Peru, all over Mexico that have underlying construction that is beyond our understanding of how they could have possibly done this, how it could possibly be created. And they're from an earlier age of understanding. And I think we are coming a big full circle back to the knowledge and the wisdom of the age of the Atlantean times.
There's 2 points I need to respond to with that, especially, well, it's in both cases, but in Peru, when you look at those stones in the walls, ginormous, right? Just
Ollantaytambo.
Yeah, just ridiculous sizes. But then you look at the mountains and where the quarry is, right?
Yeah,
and you're thinking, wait a minute, they didn't have the wheel. They didn't have horses. They didn't have anything. So you just tell me how they got it over those mountain ranges to here, and then we can have a conversation. But here's
what's really funny about that particular story. Before you go on, I'll just hold the space for you here. Is that is that in that particular site that you're talking about, where across the valley on the top of the Andes, or sorry, not the, yeah, on the top of the Andes, on the other side of the valley, there's this quarry, like on the other side of the mountain, and there's a story about the Incan king who decided to see if he could build things as well as the gods. This was the way the story goes.
Right.
And so he goes to the quarry, right, which already exists, with the temples down below that already exists. And he decides he's going to take, a couple hundred men, and he's going to bring a stone down from the quarry to prove his might to the gods, right? He starts taking this stone down the mountain, to a makeshift road that they've made. And this thing is, a couple hundred tons, and it basically gets moving and it pulls these hundreds of men down with it down the mountain. And that was the last time, the Incan king tried to duplicate the work of the gods. Why was this called the work of the gods? If an Incan king couldn't do it, and it was like impossible for him, then why do we think the Incas built all those sites? Right? There's a lot of gaps like that in stories all over in Peru.
Yeah, and going back to, by the way, that stone is still sitting on the road with bodies around it. If we go back to Giza and we look at Khafre and Khufu, this is the part where Egyptologists have amnesia, because you look at the documentation of the timetable, and they state that Khafre and Khufu were built at the same time. They don't tell you that. They make, it's 4.5 million stones, and it took 20,000, workers 20 years to build. They'll tell you half of the story. They don't tell you that there were 2 pyramids built at the same time. It's not 4.5 million stones, right? It's 9 million stones. It's not one king's chamber, it's 2. It's not 20,000 people, it's 40,000. They don't tell you that there was only 500,000 people in all of Egypt at that time. So, and if you take that, right? So that means every man in the country that could walk was building the pyramids. They don't tell you that part. They don't tell you any.
Way more than that, yeah.
Well, that's my point, right? They want to cut the story in half.
Well, and show me one site in Egypt verifiably built by a pharaoh and his family, when there are lots of them, where they didn't write the pharaoh's name all over everything.
Top to bottom.
Why didn't they write the names all over the pyramids? How come there's not a single hieroglyph, right? As far as, that we generally understand inside the pyramids. These are ancient devices.
If you build
Egyptian hieroglyphics of the Golden Age were not even around when they were built.
If you built the Great Pyramid, it would say Adam Apollo on the entrance, right?
Yeah. I mean, the pharaohs did it everywhere else, right? And there's all kinds of fascinating things. I had this opportunity when I went with Robert Grant on my last trip to Egypt last year. Literally, we got home from Egypt the week before the COVID thing happened. It was like we barely made it out, and there were already, flights from China being canceled in international airports as we were flying through them and stuff. It was crazy times. But while we were there, we had an opportunity to go into a very special secret site that's not open to the public. You go down this long staircase, down a shaft, way down into the deeps. And then you go into this network of tunnels, and there's a few really fascinating chambers in this tunnel, but I was in one of them at one point, and basically, the guys, there's like a guy in there, and he comes in, and he's one of the Egyptologist kind of guards that like follows us in, and he's trying to tell everybody, oh, this is an unfinished chamber. This is a chamber that was unfinished, and they never finished completing it, and he's like educating them about this chamber, right? I look at this chamber, and literally, it's got a perfect cutout space for a large sarcophagus-like container. There's literally erosion and blast damage all along the sides of this thing, where some part has been blown apart to get whatever it was that was inside of this space. And those stones are sitting there. The chunks are sitting there. The pieces are blown open. It obviously used to be smooth and perfectly carved, but the story he's told to tell everybody else is that this is an unfinished chamber, so that you don't ask questions. Because in a couple of the other chambers, there's some very interesting things. There's one sarcophagus thing that you can get inside of that literally is shaped perfectly to match your body, and it fits perfectly around you. And you're inside of it underneath this massive 20-ton stone that's like right above you. And it's held up with these massive pillars. And when you make a sound in that room, it is crazy. It makes your teeth rattle. It makes your bones just shake whenever you make a sound.
What site is this?
Yeah, so part of our agreement with the people at the site is that we can't talk about the site or where the site's located. So I can't tell you that one.
Is it near Giza?
No, it's near Saqqara.
It's near Saqqara. Okay, which is south of Giza. Okay. Yeah. All right. Is it near? Is it?
We can't play 20 questions to pinpoint it, Jimmy. I'll tell you, it's near Saqqara. And if you know Saqqara, and you know the right people, you can get there.
Wow.
Just ask for the long, deep, straight down spiral staircase shaft, and give them lots and lots of bakshish.
Right. What do you ultimately think when we talk about the age of the pyramid complex? Do you think that there's two ways to look at it? Do you think that the fourth dynasty, whatever, just inherited it, right? It was already there, and then everything else that is around, the Red Pyramid, what have you, Step Pyramid, are imitations of what they were seeing, and they tried to replicate, the Great Pyramid and the pyramid complex?
Yeah, so just like in Mexico, when you go to places like Teotihuacan, archaeologists have definitively shown that there are 8 different rebuilding layers on top of Teotihuacan. So the original pyramids at Teotihuacan, you have no idea what they look like. They could be massive megalithic stone structures with stones as big as the ones we see in the pyramids in Giza. We don't know. All we can see is the smaller stones they stack on top and on top and on top and on top. And then, of course, you have to deal with the wetness there, with massive amounts of erosion that occurs. And so that's been eating away the stone because of all the moisture. But in Egypt, it's different because it's very dry. And one of the things that you see a massive amount of water damage. Levels of water damage on the Egyptian plateau around the pyramids and around the base of the pyramids that could only have occurred from massive amounts of water deluging through that area. And this has been the work of people like Robert Schoch, showing that the erosion patterns around the Sphinx prove that it's from an era before this period that we consider most of the pharaohs from, and et cetera. So yeah, there was a massive amount of construction all over Egypt, and the empire that spanned that space is just absolutely phenomenal. And that empire was inherited and built upon and duplicated, and sites built to try to match those. But you can always tell the difference in the sites, because when you go to a site and you get into a certain area, you go into the core of a specific chamber at some of the older pyramids way outside of Giza, Saqqara, you find specific chambers, you find specific rooms that are fundamentally different construction to everything else. And in those rooms, the drop of a pin makes a perfect resonance of a bell. In those rooms, every piece of granite is perfectly polished and smoothed and fitted together as if cut by a laser. Everything is laser sharp, laser precision, perfect measurements. And those are signs of a higher level of technology. and those point to long before the dynasties and what I consider to be, the pre-Diluvian era.
Now, I haven't been to Egypt, but I have visited the Met in New York a lot, and their Egyptian side of the museum is pretty extensive. They've got entire temples, that they brought over from Egypt, and you can walk through them. But they also have the giant sarcophagus and different things. But the closer you look, and especially the last time I was there, Rita and I walked through a temple, and they had the hieroglyphs on the walls. So you're walking through. Anyway, this is the thing. You're looking at this, and it's going floor to ceiling, and the closer you look, the more perfect everything is. And there are no mistakes, right? And you just look, and you're like, how is this possible? It goes without question where there were no metal tools. So scratch that part, right? This wasn't done with bronze chisels in this granite. It just wasn't. But it's perfect, man. So where does the light come from? So we went in this hallway, and it's this I forget which temple. It's from Dendera, by the way. This temple, and you're walking through the hallway, and you're like, how did they light it up? This must have taken forever to do. How do you do it? Because I'm having a hard time today with lights in there seeing it. How did they do it back then? How is it possible to have gotten this done? They had a technology that we know nothing about, and we're trying to simplify things and say, well, they just got it done. You're not giving them enough credit. I'm just not. I don't buy into that. It's too perfect.
Yeah, the work that is all over that land is so astoundingly perfect that the fact that we can even confuse it with the idea of making it with hammers and chisels is laughable. It's laughable. And there is there's a natural alternative conclusion, which is that these things were built long before, and that in some cases, the pharaohs and the artisans of the pharaohs during the dynasties were using these spaces, carving new hieroglyphics in, telling their own stories. And there's many sites where you can even see that there was new stone put on front, or they wiped off or tried to etch out hieroglyphics from certain eras. That happened during the time of Akhenaten. There was a general when Akhenaten came into power who went around basically trying to destroy and wipe out the stories in other temples so that Akhenaten could promote his one God theory, right? It's a lot more messy than sometimes people get in the, amazing, Akhenaten was a Christian or he's a one God faith. Well, yeah, but like Christians too, in some ways, slaughtered all of these other priests and priestesses who didn't believe in that faith, and that's a problem, right? And we see these sort of circuits and cycles in many different cultures around the planet where different belief systems come in and they try to wipe out the old. Well, in any case, in all of the sites, they pay massive reverence to the gods, massive reverence to these beings that were more powerful that created these realms, and there's no place where that's not there. and it was so easy for the beings that created these spaces, so easy in the age when these things were made that they had no qualms about it. I mean, literally you'll see in certain quarries, they just decided to bore this giant hole through this one piece of stone, and they were like, that wasn't quite right. So then they just do another one, like right over here, and they start to redo it. And it's not they didn't make mistakes; they made mistakes occasionally, but there's places all over where you see pillars that, I've looked at with engineers, on our research team, looking at the pillar, trying to figure out how they did the thing, and the only way you could make some of these pillars, which are, 5 feet in diameter, you can't reach your arms around. They're 5 feet in diameter. They go up, 50 feet. They're one piece of stone, and they slowly get smaller and smaller towards the top, tapering in, and then flare out with lotuses designed on them, right? And we're looking at this thing, and it was like, oh my God, it would take a turntable. Now, if we were to make this pillar, it would take a turntable, a spinning round table that would rotate that stone really fast. That's the size of a freight train engine, you know?
Yes.
And has a suspension pillar that's 50, 60 feet high, crane holding the thing, while a very, very powerful diamond saw is basically sliding down the edge and smoothing the edge of this thing. I mean, it's incredible the level of technology it would take to create some of these things. And it was easy for them.
I still look at that unfinished obelisk and think about that, 100 feet long, 150 feet long, 1,200 tons, whatever it is, and look at that. Now, it's one thing to see it unfinished, but obviously if it hadn't have cracked, they were going to move it. Right?
That's right. And stand it up.
Yeah, they were going to stand that thing up. That's mind-blowing. They had a plan. And this is the thing, Adam, it was easy.
It was easy.
It was easy. We look at it, we bring in the cranes and the trucks, and then we would have a barge out on the Nile, and it would take this and hydraulics, and we look at it like that. They didn't have any. For them, it was easy. And that's right. That's
we see the remnants. We see the remnants of that in our mythology, because interestingly enough, there happens to be this one particular mythology about this object called Solomon's Shamir. And it was thought of as this worm-like structure that green light would shoot out of. And so this device, basically, the way it's described is this device could basically cut stone, move objects around, and melt things and reform things. and this is the myth of this scary worm-like creature that could melt things and reform things and cut things or whatever. But in some myths, it's this crazy worm-like creature. In other descriptions and other parallel myths, it's some kind of object. And in others, it's a green stone on an object, right? And so there's these different tales. And when you start to really look at each of them, and kind of peel apart the ethnocentricity of that time period and the way that people were looking at these tales, first off, and you just take it for what it is. What it's describing is a technology. It's describing some kind of rod or staff with some kind of crystal component that allowed a laser to come out, or a plasma-like cutting device, potentially that also had some kind of gravitational control elements. And I've found a few sites where there are images of a god and a goddess usually, and what they're doing is they're holding this giant pillar that looks just like the Jed. The Jed is the pillar that connects the worlds, and is actually the symbol of the Jedi, or the origin of the term Jedi, and is often seen with the Ankh and with the staff of Anubis. So you have infinite life, you've got the power between the worlds, and the power of death. Right. And the combination of that is often seen in healing spaces, creating a field around beings. But here they have this giant Jed, and out of the top of it, it's got this structure that's like these two large loops that come out the top with a space between them. And I'm looking at that thing and I'm like, holy crap, that's like the top of a freaking, Tesla coil like device. It's designed to create an arc between it. And here you have this plasma device, and right there at the bottom of that arc is the symbol that we use as the sun disk, the symbol of the sun. That's where the little gem would go, and the wings are like these ostrich-like feathers that are literally shooting this beam to carve and craft things. So it's right there on the wall, but we don't know what it is.
I totally agree with the Tesla coil side of it. That's exactly what it looks like. Let's take our break right here. We're going to come back. Adam, we got to get into disclosure and what is happening in 2021. We've got the UAP task force and the Senate and everything else I want to get your insight on all of this. So stay right there. Adam Apollo is our guest. This is Fade to Black going into overtime. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
And you are listening to my boy, Jimmy Church, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter.
But listening to Jimmy Church will.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and I take Life Change Tea supplements every single day. It's what I do. Click on their banner at JimmyChurchRadio.com. When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Yes, River Moon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Just click on the banner at JimmyChurchRadio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Teppy.
Hello, my name is Billy Carson, and I am a best-selling author and the founder of ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. Together with my team, we have built an all-new conscious streaming TV platform designed with every family member in mind. If you have ever wanted to travel the world and attend lectures and workshops from your favorite speakers but weren't able to, look no further. ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. There are dozens of workshops and lectures from speakers you know and love. We have also included amazing categories to assure that your consciousness is entertained and elevating on a daily basis. Amazing interviews, ancient history, ascension knowledge, wisdom teachings, documentaries, conspiracies, mysteries, health and fitness, conscious cooking, meditations, finance, yoga, and so much more. To start your free trial on any mobile device or computer, surf to ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. That's Forbidden Knowledge with the number 4, ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. Again, visit ForbiddenKnowledge.tv today.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app. Free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Erica, Brittany, Gabby, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were born this way. KGRARadio.com.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Adam Apollo heading into some overtime. I don't know how we let this get away from us tonight, Adam. We got to talk some ET, man.
We do it every time, buddy.
Yeah, we do it every time. And now there is a lot of chatter in the UFO community right now. And there's been a couple of media articles about this, where the UAP task force got funded inside of the COVID funding bill. And in that, there was this 180-day timeline for a report to come back to be released publicly with what the government knows about UFOs. Now, I'm going to ask you directly. Do you expect anything in 180 days?
Yeah, well, I mean, if it was written into the text of the bill itself and thus passed to law as a requirement, I would have a lot more faith in it. But the fact that it was a comment attached to the bill by one of the bill co-signers makes it bear a little bit less weight. Now, that being said, not meaning to be a party pooper for everyone, we've already seen in the last year the greatest amount of public high-level disclosure that we've ever seen in this country. And that's going further. I mean, come on. The Pentagon literally just released, recently, last year, at the end of last year in the fall, that they have recovered off-world vehicles. Okay? Off-world vehicles. Like, you don't mistake that phrase. That's pretty damn clear disclosure coming from the Pentagon, right? Now you've got all kinds of other interesting things happening since then, including this guy from Israeli Space Force saying that we're in contact with the Galactic Federation and et cetera. And I haven't read his book because I don't read Hebrew, but I have a friend who does, and I've pointed her to it, and I'm hoping she can give me a little more insight into all of his work on this. But at least what I've seen so far matches up pretty well with my knowledge. And I think that we're in this just budding period right before this disclosure thing just goes absolutely wild, and everyone on the planet really gets it. But at this point, the metrics of the numbers of people that believe that we may not be alone and that UFOs are from other planets or other worlds is very significant. I mean, I think it's over half in all of the studies that have been done so far. It's like over half of people think that is the case. Now,
what do you make of the recent news about TTSA and the exodus of Lou Elizondo, Chris Mellon, Steve Justice? That those three guys, the focal point for TTSA, now apparently have left. Where does that leave TTSA? Are they going to be an entertainment company and produce books and DVDs and T-shirts?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. For those that don't know the acronym that you're using, and I didn't catch it at first, but the To the Stars Academy for Arts and Sciences, as it's called, is very interesting organization. And I thought I had a kind of sour taste in my mouth when it first came about, because I looked into the backgrounds of all of the people that were behind this organization. And, you've got some interesting characters, the Blink-182 guy, Luis Elizondo is an interesting character. And then you've got like this whole crew of people who are all, have all departed from some of the highest levels in different government stations imaginable, highest level intelligence officials, guys whose bios and whose backgrounds, read like, to put it frankly, they read a lot like, hey, here's my official position because I can't tell you about the Black Ops stuff that I've been involved with. And so I think that crew in general, in my perception, I was a little concerned about them trying to sort of pop out of nowhere, take the stage and gather money and take the lead on we're going to be the guys that are going to help us build starships and be the disclosure crew, when there's so many people without funding, without work, that have been doing this work on their own all over the world for a long time. What about those people? What about their experiences? And now, to be fair, there's also a lot of people who haven't done the scientific work and analysis necessary to talk about some of these issues in a way that's intelligent enough for academics to understand and absorb, and for the people in general to absorb. And that is what it is. But it doesn't mean that their information is not valuable, right, at the same time. And we have to take all of the different people's perspectives and stories into account when we're starting to understand our place and our relationship to a galactic civilization.
So have we come full circle, right? Are we back to where we were before TT? You know, and it's this is the citizens' version of UFO research that we've been doing all along. Now we're right back to where we were in 2017.
Well, that part of the work of doing everything from exopolitical studies to the studies of species to the studies of spiritualities in galactic cultures, all of these things are essential, right? But it's a that have to get stitched together, and they get stitched together when we get serious about them and we take the narrative seriously, we take the data seriously, and we start actually looking at it.
Right.
It's been a very, very short time that the so-called truth embargo has not been making, this entire topic ridiculous, right? Making this entire topic disenfranchising, right? It now finally, for the first time, it's like, oh yeah, well, if you heard Adam speak about his contact experiences, and you thought he was totally crazy, well, what do you think now that the Pentagon has told you they've recovered off-world vehicles? Add that to your data packet, because your belief system may be incorrect and you may need to actually question some things.
Why do you think? Because you're bringing up a point that about the recovery of flying saucers, and we're in possession of that. When that was disclosed 3 or 4 months ago in that New York Times article, and I'm reading that went missing on journalists out there. I don't understand why nobody seized on that very important statement. That is one of the most incredible things that you can ever say. There it is. There was zero follow-up. Nobody, not one media organization went back and talked to Eric Davis saying, okay, wait a minute here. You just said you briefed the Senate Intelligence Committee about us being in possession of flying saucers. How more clear can somebody be in a statement? And it's there in the New York Times article, and it just disappeared. Why? I don't get it. You noticed it. Yeah. I did. Nobody has discussed it.
They wouldn't touch it. It's interesting. There's very specific things that are allowed to sort of make it through some of the embargo and the stranglehold on the media and et cetera. And there's other things that don't. And I want to take this opportunity just to say, by the way, that if you believe that all media is lying to you all the time, then that kind of conspiracy theory is going to put you in a really tough place, because now you actually believe that there's hundreds of thousands of people. I'm talking about all those people with families, those journalists, those people trying to do the job, trying to report the truth, trying to record the news. You're saying that all of them are lying to you. And it's the same problem as like a flat earth theory. It's the idea that, oh my gosh, if the earth is flat, well, that means every scientist for the past few hundred years has lied, every pilot, every astronaut, it spirals people out into fear and confusion, right? So we must also recognize that there is good reporting. There are people doing their job out there, and there are people breaking through, and they also have to deal with editors, and those editors have to deal with financial interests. And do we always know what all those financial interests are, or those groups that are steering at the top of these media companies? No. So some things might get blocked out, some things might get magnified. There can be an agenda behind things, but it doesn't mean it's all not true. Because if you dig into it, you realize there's real people with real experiences doing real reporting on real things. And it's critical for us to look at that if we're actually going to start, making our way back to an understanding of what's true and real in this time that we live in.
Wait a minute. You're saying the earth isn't flat? But you bring up a great point. That statement, which is buried in the article by Leslie Kane and Ralph Blumenthal, where the statement is made that the Senate was debriefed, and they were told that we are in possession of crash flying saucers. Okay, that had to have been vetted by the New York Times.
Yeah.
They had to go back and look at that quote. It's not making it into the New York Times, an extraordinary quote like that, without the New York Times being cool with it.
Yeah.
Right? That's your point.
Yep. Yeah, it's got to get past the editor. So somebody go ahead, and whoever did that was brave and awesome, and bless them. I'm really thankful for whistleblowers, especially, and people trying to bring out true testimony and information about the truth of what's happening and what's happened. Now, sometimes you get a little different vibe from certain whistleblowers. And it's funny because I met Stephen Greer back in 2001 in Asheville, North Carolina. And I was in college. And he said at that time that according to his sources and the people that had been disclosing information at that time, that about 80% of all information about extraterrestrial phenomena and UFOs was intentionally seeded disinformation. But people couldn't tell the difference. Now, we've kind of come full circle with that back to an era where we've got the information waves are so full of disinformation. It's really challenging to try to find the truth. And there's people that benefit off of that that level of confusion. And it's sad to say, but I think there are certain interests that also benefited from a lot of progressive thinking, conspiracy theorists, people that were looking into and questioning the deepest parts of our reality, that when they got duped into believing this flat earth ridiculousness, what it did is it created a massive divide within that community. And I actually had a few friends that got caught up in that mass. And you know what happened? They lost all respect from their other colleagues and friends. They became disconnected from everybody else, as if everybody else is lying to them. They don't understand what they believe, and it created massive division. And when we see ideas and information creating division at that scale, we have to question the agenda behind them, the intention of where they come from, and do deeper digging on our own to find the truth.
Now, so the question is why? Why Tucker Carlson every night on Fox News? Why is Don Trump Jr. asking his dad about UFOs on television, right? Why the Pentagon? Why now? Why all of this, coupled with fast radio bursts, exoplanets, radio signals from Europa, what have you? That is constantly out there in the media now. So that's the question. Why now? What's going on?
We've been on a trajectory to this for a long time, and you can think of it a lot like a rubber band. Like we started blocking out the truth back at the turn of the century, and throughout this century we've hid truth from each other in different ways, whether by the needs of the Cold War or the battle against the Nazis. It didn't matter. We had to hide things, right? And hide technology, try to become the most powerful country on the planet, and whatever country you were from, people were trying to do that. And that's left us with lots and lots of secrets and lots of lies. And there's a natural pressure in the physics of space-time to surface lack of truth. Because literally, if you're telling a false story, it's like building a parallel timeline, and eventually that has to collapse back in because it never can go anywhere. That energy doesn't actually get anywhere because there's no actual real experience behind it. And the momentum of real experience is too powerful. And so what we're seeing collectively is all of these people with all of these individual personal experiences, and the momentum of truth behind that is so great that the noosphere itself is shifting. The belief system, the way that it's being held, the understanding is shifting. Teilhard de Chardin describes the noosphere as the collective consciousness field of the planet that's actually embedded in the electromagnetic field around the Earth and connected to it. So we're like changing the charge on the battery, that is the Earth. And as we change the frequency, we change the charge, we change the resonance of the thoughts, the ideas, the feelings we have. We're making it okay. We're making it okay. We're making it right because so many of us know that it's the truth. So many of us know that it's right. And so it's opening the door for that to be the case. Just like any belief that we have, any belief that we collectively hold very strongly, we start to create and make truth out of it. But the thing is if we hold beliefs collectively that are false, they implode on themselves. So eventually they collapse in and can be crushing to all the people that tried to hold up that idea or that belief. But when it's coming from pure experience, truth, the honesty and the integrity of the self, the knowledge of the self, of the knowledge of actions, that has such power and momentum in space-time. It will inevitably always move the charge and move the field, change the people.
Are they doing it then because the inevitable is about to happen? They know something is about to happen? There's a ship that they're tracking that is on its way to our solar system and is about to arrive. Is it something like that, or a data dump? Something out of the government's control, and they know that at some point the truth is going to be let out. Is that the reason? Is it just to acclimate humanity, which I know is simple to state, but it could it be something like that?
I think acclimation certainly is a word that probably aligns with the agenda of certain individuals out there that know that people need to get adjusted to this idea. Now, is there a big event? Is there a big ship coming? And it's a warning for us to receive that? No, I absolutely disagree with that. And in my experience, what I see much more of is a interstellar civilization threaded across this entire galaxy that's looking at humanity in their teenage age, like trying to help us not destroy ourselves and rip holes in the fabric of space-time by blowing up nuclear weapons, and trying to support us to getting our stuff together just enough,
right?
To getting our stuff together just enough so that we can earn our first driver's license. And it's just like that 15-year-old kid, they're going to have to learn how to behave and operate in the right way. Otherwise, mom and dad are not going to hand them the keys to the car. Right. And for us in this situation, it's even a little different. It's that actually we have to take responsibility enough to build our own car and say, okay, like we're ready now. We're going to build our own car. We're going to go out there into the world. We're going to go out there into this galaxy, and we're going to come as equals, not as a passive species that's received the gift from these extraterrestrial gods and is going to thus worship them because of that. We have to meet them on equal ground. And it's going to take a little bit for the whole structure of the way that we operate around the world to adjust to things like faster than light spacecraft, portals that instantaneously connect and transport goods around the planet. I mean, the idea of the borders that we have right now are not very useful when you start having, craft that can zip to anywhere around the planet, not to mention another planet, and take off and land wherever, and et cetera. There's some big adjustments we need to make as a society, and we need to start thinking about what those adjustments look like.
Are there governments, not necessarily just the United States, are there governments on this planet that are in communication with ET and know about the application for the learner's permit?
Yeah. I think absolutely. And from what I've seen in most of the disclosure materials that I've seen from varieties of whistleblowers, in most cases, the information and knowledge that we have is from a very limited group of species. And, it's likely that our reproduction technologies are like the kind of horse and buggy carriage model of what will become, a high-speed Tesla, roadster from 2021, like they're on a different level in terms of their capacity technologically. They can still crash. They still have major electromagnetics field issues. They can be disrupted by electromagnetics fields. Those are the only kinds of craft that have crashed on the Earth. and they're significantly lower level of technology than I've witnessed with many of the other species out there who are part of this sort of open source union of beings around the galaxy. Their ships have literally space-time boundaries that they've learned how to create around the craft that allow these craft to fly in and out of stars, in and out of matter on planets. They operate almost as if they're in another dimension, but it's that they've learned how to create a bubble in space-time that isolates the information energy inside the craft from the space-time outside the craft. So they can jump faster than light. They never crash. They never wreck. They can do whatever they want. And you know, it's a level of advancement that I think will grow into that, but we need to start operating, you know, in a way that's serving all life and all races and all species, and open sourcing that which we can give to the world as much as possible, and learning how to operate as a culture designed around the principles of maximizing the highest and best good for all people and all things. And we're just not quite there yet. And that's the growth curve that we have to go on in taking responsibility for ourselves to become part of this galactic civilization.
Yeah, I mean, we've got to quit doing what we've been doing. We managed to hate our neighbors in 1 year, right?
Yeah.
There's just no way we get a seat at the table if we can't get past those types of basics.
Yeah, yeah. We have to start simple, start with compassion, start with love, start with understanding, start considering why other people believe what they believe. And if you think that what they believe may differ from what you believe, ask them questions about it. Inquire how they have that knowledge. Where did they get that knowledge from? And ask them the hard questions about it until you see they either have an extremely compelling logical argument for what they believe and that they understand, and they're clear and they're coherent around it, and they feel like they're telling the truth to themselves, and you can feel this presence and this knowledge and this resonance, and it changes what you believe. It changes your mind, you know, or you dig and you realize there's nothing underneath there, that they actually just took it from a random thing and they created a little shell because it's insulating and protecting something that they don't want to look at, right? And this is the way we have to start operating like Jedi and feeling into the field to know what's really going on.
You've got your Jedi shirt on right now. Adam, thank you so much, man. And I'm looking forward to next month, Conscious Life Expo, and your keynote address, and, of course, everything that we'll be doing that weekend. Thank you so much. Where can everybody reach out to you?
Just adamapollo.com is a good way to reach me if you guys want to find me there. I'm on Twitter at @AdamApollo. I'm not on there very often, but you can also find me on Instagram at @Adam_Apollo. On Facebook, just search Adam Apollo. You can just Google me. It's pretty easy to find me.
Adam Apollo. Thank you so. Another great night, my friend. Thank you so much. We'll see you in 30 days at the Conscious Life Expo. Thank you so much.
Look forward to it, Jimmy.
What a great night. We just went pole to pole. I've got to go straight to the credits, everybody, at Adam Apollo. All of Adam's websites are over at jimmychurchradio.com. Faded Black's executive producers Rita Camurian. Shows produced by Hilton J. Palm, Renee, Dennis, and Kevin. Announcers are Steve Harder, Gene Vitoa, Mark D. Kovar. Webmaster is Drew the Geek. Music, Doug Aldrich. Intro, Spaceboy, spaceboymusic.com. Faded Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network. Syndication is KGRA, The Planet. This broadcast owned and copyrighted 2021 by Faded Black and the Game Changer Network, Inc. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Faded Black or the Game Changer Network. Tomorrow night, right here, Fader Night, open lines all night long. Until then, I'm your host, Jimmy Church. I want everybody to be safe. Fade to Black.